So I have that one standing question. I've decided to name the student Jimena with an X.
Okay.
So my question is about her, right? If there's if the voucher, if the ESA is worth 10.5, let's say 10.5, and the tuition is, I understand, thank you for answering that, and the tuition is more than that, by 1,000, by 10,000, by 20,000, should we ask that the private institution waive the remainder?
We have concerns about that idea, specifically because you would be dictating the processes and the operations within a private school and interfering with the contract between the parent and the school. And specifically, not that we don't want Jimena to get the full amount of private scholarship money. However, there are other programs that private schools provide. First, they can do work, volunteer opportunities that help with pay tuition, and that helps them become a part of the community and make sure that they're participating. So there are just some innovative ways that private schools set it up so that low-income families can afford it. And you're interfering with that because if they are not allowed to charge more than that or institute these sort of programs, that's money that could go to another low-income family and child to participate in the program. So that would be our concern.
If you have empty slots, you're not getting any money, right?
Yes.
You're not getting any. So if you get 10.5, that's 10.5 you weren't going to get, right? And should we then, okay, let's say that we don't mandate a waiver, but we do mandate all of those things that you mentioned, that one way or another, the receiving institution has to make up for what she's not going to get, because otherwise she can't go. Should we do that?
Well, my concern is it would limit the participation of the schools because they are doing it their way, and you're mandating something within their operation. So I understand I agree with the concept. We want to make sure that the lowest income families access these seats in schools. 100% agree.
Right. So
my concern is that you are dictating it in a way in the bill that's inappropriate for a private school setting.
How then do we get there? Because what I'm afraid is going to happen, and I'm not answering for you, what I'm afraid is going to happen is that Jimena can't go because she can't afford it, which I think, one, is income discrimination. Two, they're willing to take the money, but not Jimena, right? And the other is that he actually said something I really liked. He said, every parent should be free to choose every option. That has to be the case. Like, if we're going to do this, then that has to be the case. Otherwise, we're just sort of creating the inequality he's talking about in the private school world, right? Where the more affordable private schools, the lower income people can go to, and the more affluent private schools, they can't access because they don't have enough money. So help me solve this problem. If we're really if we're not doing what some of my colleagues have said, which is subsidize otherwise well-to-do families, then how do we make it so that the people who need the most help actually get it? And I will say this, I don't think an acceptable answer is there are other more affordable options that she can avail herself to. That's not
That was
acceptable.
not what I was going to say.
Right, but so it can't be that she can go to the more affordable Catholic schools. She might be Jewish, in which case, even though she can afford
Jewish
it,
schools.
there are not that many Jewish schools. I
said we have some great Jewish
We do
schools.
have some great, but there's very few, right? So that is my question, which is, if you want the money, you have to also want the kid. And here's a kid. This is a real kid. How do you make it so that the St. John's, or everything between St. John's and your schools, many of which I have in my district, I've got a ton of private schools. How do we make it so that she can go? Not, well, you got your foot in the door, but your family still has to raise $15,000.
If a school chooses to participate in this program, then they're making the assertion that they want that child, they want more children to access their school, and the low-income families are prioritized. So they are making that assertion. St. John's might not participate because they have private scholarship money. So I just don't think it needs to be in the statute where we dictate the internal operations, but I do think that it would be the intent of the school to allow Jimena to access that with the 10,500.
I hear you, but
it
it very well could be that let's say that you've got your full spectrum of prioritized children, right? And you've got the two bands that have to do or maybe even the 3 bands that have to do with lower income people. And they go to, and I don't know St. John's, we'll say St. Diego's, right? Which I actually think John is Diego. Anyway, right?
And one day-
Which is so weird and wrong, but both. But my point is, they could participate, and then Jimena and her classmates get the voucher ESA and take themselves there. But if there's not something that requires them to allow her to go, then she gets rejected and falls off, and the ones who are left are the ones in the bottom band who are already going or can afford it. And so what I'm saying is, what mechanism should we place that requires that the students that we say need the most help, that this is supposed to be for, get to go? Because if the answer is nothing, then we are saying the people who are already sending their kids there are going to get a coupon. But we don't really have a policy answer for this child. But we will take the state's money. There's a cognitive dissonance there that I can't get past. And I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm asking for your
I'm just
help.
saying, this solution that you're proposing right now could
Yes.
limit the amount that could go to Jimena's brother, Jorge, to
But
go.
there's
So
an
I
empty,
think
there's an empty
making
slot. It's an empty slot. You weren't going to get any money at all.
Well, these children are going through the admissions process first, and this is actually a point of clarification from earlier today. The admissions process comes first. They start touring schools in the fall, depending on, the school to school. Ideally, the application process would open up in January for the ESAs, and I know the comptroller's here, and they're going to have a heart attack. But, and so applications, so the families applying for ESAs while they're applying for the private school admission. And so the private school admission is separate, so that's need blind, which we've mentioned before. So the school doesn't necessarily know how much money these children have when
Right.
they go through the admissions process. So they find out in March.
Surprise.
Jimena,
She's got
you're in.
10-5, period, full
So
stop.
she was already in, that admission decision was made.
Right, but what happens to her once they realize that she doesn't have whatever the delta is? And again, it's not in the bill. And Democrat vice chair, don't overestimate my influence here, right? But my
Oh.
point is, if those aren't the policy solutions, what are? The one thing I really hope you do not say is too bad.
No.
Okay, so what is the policy solution?
The
And if you don't
policy
have it
solution
now,
is-
you can get
is-
it to me later, but we have to have one.
It's what's happening now, which is the private scholarship money that goes for that delta, or the programs that they have to help families.
But isn't it up to the school whether or not they decide to do that? Are they not required? Is it not? It's not an as of right program. It's if we feel like it, if we like her, if we can envision her there, depending on what the pot already is, where she comes in the process, right? But again, the reason why I'm asking this question, aside from taking care of her, is the fact that these are supposedly empty slots where they were going to get no money anyway. So, if they're full slots, then she can apply.
They're not automatically empty slots. If she's gone through the application process, they've admitted their class of students, they don't know whether she has an ESA or not.
So then it could be that she gets in and they then gets told that she can't go, which is worse.
Was likely get told that we have private scholarship money that can help you make up for this. That's what's happening right now.
Okay, but do we know that's going to happen? And can we make them do that? Because if not, she can be told no. And I think that's the problem, is that policy-wise, you'll take the money, but only for the people who can afford the rest.
If she's told no, then the money, they're not taking the money.
No, but you'll take the money from the other kids who can't afford to pay the rest, is what I'm saying. It's like you'll take state money from the kids, you being whoever, not, right? You'll take state money from the kids who can afford to make up the rest, but you won't take the kid where the state money's not enough. That then perpetuates the exact kind of discrimination and disparity that you are talking about, right? Because I agree with what you're saying about neighborhoods, right? My city's neighborhoods follow the redlining lines perfectly, right? So I'm with that. But I don't think that you should be asking for our support if we're going to re-perpetuate that in the private school space. So what is the answer?
The private schools want to participate in this program to provide those opportunities for kids. It does not have to be a state mandate for them to do it, because they're doing it right now. So I think you're mischaracterizing the nature of our support of
I am
this
trying to
program.
create statewide policy that ensures that the opportunity that we say these private schools can provide makes its way to the people we say it is intended to help.
I
right?
agree,
And
and
unless
I'd
there's
like to continue that
unless there's a
discussion.
policy to do that, you're asking me you're asking me to bank on their goodwill. And I don't doubt that that exists, but that's not how you make policy, right? I don't doubt that that's the case, but you can't make policy like this, hoping that someone finds it in their heart to really make it happen. You just can't write policy like that. So I'm asking for your help. Yes, sir.
Thank you for your question. 2 points to start. We have to recognize that Jimena cannot access tons and tons of places in Texas like Lake Travis because she can't afford a $1 million house. So let's make sure we're really clear on the access she
Sure.
can have. Second, the question you're asking is actually not in the evidence we've seen around the country. The fact is private schools have often brought lower income families in and are doing so at a cost reduction to them. So those two things are facts. 3 things you can think about. If you really want to have a policy solution, allow for the growth of more new options, right? Allow for other types of private schools to start that specifically serve lower income families that are not necessarily accredited. We have some disagreement on that, we understand that, but allow for some different growth of that. 2, give her all the money. 3, there's a tax credit scholarship program making its way through this United States Congress that will actually allow for Jimena to get additional funds on top of that. 4, more philanthropic opportunities for private schools. Give them tax credits. 5, we've also seen in my school as an example. So my sons went to St. Monica's, which was a primarily Hispanic and Latino school, and the families were able to provide opportunities. They were able to get opportunities to work with the school as in lieu of tuition payments. And so there was a volunteer opportunity that allowed families, and families in droves went to those schools. So there's all sorts of things. I would argue, don't mandate it, foster innovation. Don't mandate these things, don't require them. Allow the private schools to work, because they have and they are around the country, and particularly for serving low-income families.
If that was the case, we wouldn't need this bill. If private school is as accessible as you say, and we should let them innovate to make sure that these kinds of kids get to go there, we wouldn't need the bill at all.
But it's not accessible because parents have to pay twice, once in taxes and once in tuition, and that's just not fair for low-income families.
I'm just saying we have to, look, you said every parent should be free to choose every option, and you're also saying that the private schools innovate and find ways to make sure that they're accessible to those students. If that was the case, we would not need this bill. So my point is, look, I'm a no on the bill, right, respectfully. But if there's a way to make it do what it's supposed to do, I'd like to see that, because right now there's a tremendous amount of doubt that it's really for her. That's where the doubt is. Is it really for her or not? Or is it for other people? And right now, I don't see a pathway to ensure that it's really for her. Make it for her. Maybe some conversations change. But right now, you're saying it's for her, but let them figure out how to do it. Give us the money, but don't make us ensure that she can go. That's just not good policy. And so I appreciate the answers. I'm not trying to cut you off. My office is open. Yeah. Happy to talk to you guys. Absolutely. I'm asking every single panel who has your position the same question. And I'm honestly open to hearing what the solutions are. But right now, it's go to a cheaper one or cross your fingers. That's the way it sounds right now. Okay. Thank you, Chairman.